to have you back on my channel. I hope you're doing well. By the way, my name is luhluh and not luh. My friends keep calling me luh. I'm like, it's luhluh, silly. The H is silent. But maybe I should just start saying my name in my YouTube channel so people know to pronounce it luh and not luh. But anyway, so thank you so much for coming back and watching my channel again. So if you watched my last video, I made some okra soup, and then at the end I was like, come back and find out more about life in Africa. So alright, so this is the video. So when I was at work, I met this lady. Her name was Susie, and there was this time where she was talking to me about something I don't remember, and then all of a sudden she was like, "How many siblings do you have?" So I was like, "Well, I mean, I have 18 siblings," and she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, um, yeah, it's a big family." So she was, so we continued talking. I told her about how I was adopted from Africa and everything. And then she was like, you should write a book about your life. It's interesting. I would read it if you were to write a book. So I was like, well, I mean, that's a good idea. But, I don't really write that much. I mean, I'm kind of good at writing, but I'm bad at spelling. I will have to probably get like a publisher and someone to edit this, and that's like a whole lot of money, I'm guessing. So I am just going to make a YouTube channel about this because I have started a YouTube channel and I feel like it will be better this way. And plus, you won't have to buy the book. But anyway, so I was born into a tribe in this tiny little country in Africa, and my father was the chief of this tribe, or the king of this tribe. So I guess you can say I'm a princess. Well, alright. So I have my journal that I wrote down things that I will be talking about in this video. So I'm going to start with food, and then I will talk more about all the points that I wrote in this journal. All right. So for food, sometimes dining, we had to make our meals. We didn't have any stove or refrigerators or those good things. To make our fire, if you have heard of palm tree or like have a palm nut, we used to get the palm out of the palm tree, and we will like cook it in the big bucket, and then we will smash it down once it was cooked, and then we will settle it. And then there was this, like, if you have had celery, it has these like vines that you can't really break down easily. Palm is kind of like that, so you have these kind of things that you can't really break down, and we would save that. We would like take it out of that liquid, like that liquid part of the palm, and we would take it out and we would dry it, and we would just put it aside for when we needed it. So to make our fire for cooking, we would go to the woods and we would get our wood and stuff, and we would bring it back and put it down. We would dig holes and put the wood and everything we've gathered into the pit, and we will put that palm thing over it and light it with a match, and then that thing will catch on fire, and then we would wait until it like burns down, and then it will burn into the wood, and then that wood will turn into coal, and that's pretty much what we use to cook our food. We would just put pot into that pit of fire, and then we would make our food. And then once our food was done, if there was a whole bunch of people to eat, we would put it in this big container for all of us to sit around, and we would just use our hands to eat. And if you were a slow eater, if you were a slow eater like I was, you will barely get any food to eat. But like when you were eating, by the time you look down, like the food will already be gone. That's how it was. So on this farm, I was at a super young age, so I didn't do much, but I do remember like pretty much most of the things that went on while I was living in Liberia or while I was living in Africa. So for farming, we had to plant some rice. That was like the most important crop that we had because we ate rice with everything. We had to plant some corn, potatoes, um, peanuts. Pineapples kind of grew on their own. While the crops grew, we had to check on the crops like every single day. To water the crops, like put we would go to the well and we will put buckets into the well and we'll pull it up and then we'll just dump it into our bucket and then put the bucket back in and then we pull it up and we dump it in our bucket. Once this big bucket was full, we were like, if it was too heavy, we would use two people to just carry it to the farm. And then if it was light enough, we will have one person help us take it and put it on our heads and we will hold it and just walk to the farm and water the plants. To keep the birds away from the crops, we like there was people who used this thing called a vuma. Um, a vuma is kind of a slingshot. It's what you will know it as a slingshot, but there's a different model that we call a vuma. So a normal slingshot will be like in a Y shape, and you will have something in the middle where you will take a piece like a rock or something, and you put it and you will pull it back and let go, and it will fling something. So that is a slingshot. The Vuma had so imagine a hammock, like a super tiny hammock. So we had we had like that hammock part at the bottom, and then we had a rope from one side, and then to this side it had a loop on top of those two ropes where your fingers would go in. So you would take that hammock part of the rope, the two ropes, and then you will put a rock on the inside, and you will take this you will take the two strings with the hole in the top, and you will take it and you will put the rock in the center and you will fling it around, and then you will let go of one side of that rope and it will fling the rock out. And those will keep the birds away from the crops. That's how we kept the birds away from the crops. So when the crops grew, we had to harvest them. So we would go on the farm and we would break down the corn and we would peel them and we put them into the bin, and then we will cut down the rice and we'll place them in the bin, and then we will get everything once it all grew. For school, we would go to school in uniforms. The girls would have skirts, top, and the boys will have pants on their top. Before we started our classes, we will all line up outside and the national anthem. I cannot sing to save my life, but I'm going to try and sing the national anthem, like if I can still remember. So it was like, actually we were here, and we'll be like, I pledge allegiance to, and then when we were done, we were all going to class and we would sit, and so if the teacher was to call on you in class, and they would be like, stand right here, say the ABCs, and if you were called, you were expected to say the entire alphabet. So it will, like, the way we said the ABC was, we had like super thick accents, so we'd be like A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y. So like if you were to say the whole ABCs and let's say you missed the E, you will like have somebody else come and stand by you, and if they got that E, they were to get this stick and they will hit your hand with it, and they will say the entire ABC, just so that you know not to miss that letter the next time you say the ABC. It was rough. Like my hands are super tough. So I guess that's how you learned. And we did everything with our hands. Like we didn't really have hot pads, so like if things weren't super hot, we would just take it off the fire and we'll just put it aside. But like when I first came to America, like and for Christmas, we had this fireplace in the family room. We would like turn on the fireplace, and my sister and I would just go and put our hand on the glass, and we're like not feeling anything. And they were like, "Move your hand, it's hot." We're like, "What? What? You said it's hot." But and our feet were super hard too. So like we were like not used to wearing shoes, and our we would come outside and the concrete would be super hot, and our parents would be like, "Where are your shoes at?" Like we don't need shoes. They're like, "The concrete is hot and you're gonna burn your feet," and we're like, "I don't feel anything." Oh my goodness. All right, so clothing was pretty much what we had. Like what we had was what we wore. Um, Most of the times we didn't have a whole lot of clothing. We were pretty much without shoes and we barely wore clothing. But if we had a whole bunch of clothes, we would save it up like you save your laundry. And by the end of the week, you will get like soap and you will get a big bucket and put some water in it. And then we had a washboard where it was like that plastic thing that had the bridges on them. We'll wash our clothes with it, and then we will wring it, and then we will put it on the clothesline and let it dry in the air and let it dry. And then once it was done, we just took it off the clothesline and folded them and put it back where they came from. Took showers and bath. Well, there was really no taking showers in the village. But if you had homes in Liberia or Monrovia, you could take showers. The way we took baths in the village was we gathered we gathered twigs and um, wood and stuff from the farm, put it in a pit, light it up, wait till it's down and stuff. We would take a huge pot and fill it with water, and we would put it in the fire and wait until the water warmed up. And then we had buckets, and we will put the water inside the bucket. Now there was no bathrooms, so you pretty much had to take showers wherever you had privacy. So you would take your bucket and you will take it to where you felt like you had privacy, and you would take your washcloth and your soap, and you will put the bucket down, and you will use your hands, and you will take the water out of the bucket, and you will just splash it on your back, on your face, wash your face and everything, and then that's how we used to take baths or showers, however you want to call it. And then once you were all done, you will just dry yourself off and go change and stuff. Um, and then the way we use the bathroom is, I mean, there was not really toilets, so I don't know what to say about that. But if there were toilets and there wasn't really much water to flush the toilet down, we would take like a bucket once we have used the bathroom. We would take bucket with water in it, and we would dump that water down into the toilet, and that would flush the toilet down. The very first game that I remember that we played was Lapa. Okay, this was my favorite game of all time in Liberia. So Lapa, the way you play this game is, so we would get a whole bunch of people, and everybody would line up, and then they would choose two leaders to lead the team, and then the leaders would choose from the lineup who gets to be on their team. So once we had split up the team, one leader, the leader of the group, both groups will stand on like opposite sides, and we will have shoes that had matches and put them of um, in the center of the two leaders. So the object of the game was to stack those shoes that had matches. So you will stack those shoes in the middle, like one pair, two pair, three pair, for how many ever shoes that was put into the middle of the game. And you will stack them side by side. It's kind of like monkey in the middle, but this game you're trying to hit that person before they stack all the shoes in the center of the game. You have 3 strikes, so if that person gets hit once, they have another teammate that will come and take their place and try and stack the shoe. And then once that person gets all of the shoes stacked, and if they're retired, they will safely run out before they get hit by the ball, and they will hit that person's hand, and another person from their team will come in and continue stacking. And if all those shoes were done before they get hit, they would go tang, vela, jawa, nang, nolu, and then until they get to the end of the shoe that they have just stacked before they get hit by the ball. And once they're done with all that, they would that's a point. That's 1 point for that team. And then they will continue going. Once they hit 3 strikes, they're out. And then switch the team. And then another game was, I don't remember the name of this game, but you had a rope. Again, kind of like Lapa, you had 2 teams. Okay, so the way we played this game, we didn't really have ropes in Liberia. So like, where would we find ropes in Liberia or in Africa? But we used to use like plastic bags. So we got plastic bags, kind of like if you can imagine sandwich bags. We would take the beginning strips off, and we will take it and we will like take the seams out and just leave it like this, and we will stretch it out, and then we will stretch it out to its max, and then we will tie it together to make that rope. And then you will put one person inside, standing up with both like one leg. So, okay, I have a hair tie. So it will be like this. So you will have one person here, and you'll have like another person here, and you will have 2 feet in the center. So you'll have 2 feet like this, and like on this side. One is on either side. So you will go Landi, Madi, Meglidi, Shady, Fanglidi, Samedi, D match, salt, both feet inside, outside. And you'll try and do that. And then if you mess up and you end up on this side, then it's the other team's turn to go. And then like there was all sorts of ways to do this. You will do like Landi, Madi, Meglidi, Shady, Fanglidi, Samedi, D match. And then you'll have to like take this side of the rope with both feet and cross it over on that side of the rope, and you do outside. It was like so fun. The third game is called I Take Over the World. So for this game, you'll have a chalk, and you will have like 6 people playing this game. So you will draw a huge circle on the concrete, and you will divide it into 6 pieces, and then each player gets to choose a piece of like, I guess, the pie. And so these places, they were considered your land. You have 6 people that keep track of these states, and they will name whatever state they want this to be. You have to be a really good listener for this game. You'll have 5 people standing on the outside, and you'll have 1 person standing on the inside. So this person standing on the inside gets to say, I take over the world, and they call Florida. This Florida person has to run as far as they can by the time this person says stop. So if you don't run that far by the time that person says stop, you're dead. And so once that person says stop, and they will try and guess how many hops it takes to get to that person that lives in Florida. So if they will say, I take over the world, Florida, and they will guess, hmm, 10 hops. So this person has to reach this person with 10 hops. If they do, they get to take half of that person's land. If they don't, that person gets to take half of that person's land. It was pretty fun. Okay, so that's that game. And then we had the marbles. We played marbles. I spent my whole life in the village with my sister, my older sister Serena. And then I believe it was a good thing that she and I got adopted together because we were sisters and we were super close. We pretty much lived together pretty much our whole life. And about 2 years later, I believe it's 2 years, but I'm not exactly sure. When we were adopted, um, the guy who was in charge of the adoption agency, he came and he took us to live with him. Where my aunt, my dad, and one of my older sisters from America came to get us. And then once, like, there was this morning where we got up and we got ready and we ate breakfast at the adoption C agent guy's place, and then we went back to the village where we were born, and we met, like, they met our family, and they had some fun, and so once we got to America, we came to Colorado, and oh my god, it was winter. It was freezing. You like going from the desert to the tundra. Like, I was so cold. My fingers were like frozen. I was like, what is this weather? I do not like this weather. And it was not the best state to come into, especially when you spent your life in Africa, which is pretty much a desert. All right, so that was pretty much my life in Africa, Liberia, and the village. So, Susie, if you're watching my YouTube channel, thank you very much. You kind of inspired me. But thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope to see you um, another time. Please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button down below. If you have any questions about, like, things when you after you watch the video and you have any other questions about my life in Liberia or Africa and the village, just put it in the comments below, and I will talk about it in my other videos and answer your questions in other videos as much as I can. So thank you, and I hope you have a good day. Enjoy your day. I'll see you next time.